Steve, you mentioned some of the older players trying to perhaps look at replacing them. Is this the year to start perhaps saying goodbye to some of those older guys and bringing in some new young blood?
Oh, look, I think that's the $1 million question. You know, when do you do it? And when do you shut the dream off for those older people? Because some of those guys will make it, some won't. So I think we just need to do our due diligence on our selection processes and have the conversations we need to have, and it'll become obvious when we need to make changes.
What about players going overseas? We've seen a lot more of it over the last year or two. Is there a chance that we might see players getting the call up for the All Blacks from overseas sooner rather than later?
Well, I think it's pretty clear what the policy is, that you've got to be playing in New Zealand, and I agree with that policy. But it's also clear that we've got quality players leaving, and they've got aspirations of coming back. No problem with them leaving, and no problem with them coming back. We'll open them with our arms wide. But the issue they have is they're going to a rugby competition which doesn't have the same intensity as the Super Rugby or the All Blacks. So, and they're giving someone else an opportunity to step into their All Black jersey, and that's pretty dangerous. It doesn't mean to say they can't do it, but it does put a question mark.
The likes of Cartwright, you're happy to be selecting him this year, knowing
well, again, I think we've made ourselves really open and clear about how we feel about it. If our primary role is to pick the best side we can, and if we've got someone, and Richard's been mentioned, if Richard was to be playing out of his skin and by far and away the best player in his position in the country, then we're duty bound to pick him. But if he's only playing as well as someone else, and that someone else is staying in the country, then we've got to make a decision for the future.
The perennial question is always, at the moment, Sonny Bill Williams. There's always talk around him. Did you or Steve Chute, either of you, have any perhaps handshake deals with Sonny Bill that he was going to come back for the 2015?
No, I haven't had any handshake deals. We had lots of conversations, which we do with all players that leave. But end of the day, things change. You can say one thing today about what your dream is and your desires are, but time changes that. So we don't get too excited until they turn back up.
What about Jerome Kaino, Steve? We understand he's very keen to come back. Have you been party to discussions with him?
Yeah, well, again, like everybody that comes back and's been part of our group, we speak to them. He's rung me and I've rung him on a couple of occasions. We've had general conversations about rugby, life, family, and he's talked again about how he's feeling, but again you just have to wait and see what happens, and we'll wait and see, I guess.
Steve, you mentioned there about moving guys into the senior leadership roles. Who do you see as likely contenders to step up?
Well, I think this is where we've got to be really bold. Like, it'd be too easy just to go with some of the older guys. But I think what we've got to do is look into the future and look at some of the younger guys. So, without naming names now, because we haven't named the team, that's the approach we'll be looking at. It'll be people that may not necessarily have played, 50 tests or 60 tests. It might be someone that's only played, 4 or 5 or under 20. But by the time they get to the World Cup, they probably will have played, quite a number.
Do you feel like there's a lot more weight off your shoulders now and you've got more freedom to select your team looking forward to
Not to be really honest, no. I've always taken the approach, and as have the other selectors, that in this role you're duty bound to do what's right for the team. We live by, that's one of our guiding principles, team first, individual second. So all your decisions are based around what's right for the team today, and obviously tomorrow, because the team's got to keep rolling on. So whilst it's great to be recontracted, I don't think it'll have any effect on the decision-making process, because we were doing that anyway.
So it doesn't have a change on the balancing act between winning now and winning in the future?
Well, really, that's never changed, I don't think, in the history of the All Blacks. You've got to win now, and you've got to win in the future. So you just got to keep winning.
Steve, a couple of years before the last World Cup, a couple of years ago, Graham Henry said that he had a certain percentage of his players already cancelled in. Do you have a certain amount of players already cancelled into your 2015 squad?
Look, I think it's a different squad. You know, like if you look at where we were at that time, I think it was a lot easier to pencil people in. There's greater certainty. But when you look at our squad now, all those same people are still there. So that tells us that they've got a bit older and a little bit wiser. And where are they at? You know, and that's one of the tough challenges we've got in our selection process and over the next couple of years. So yes, there's some guys you can pencil in, but probably not as many as before because there's more question marks around will they or won't they.
So maybe next year is the year that you start making those crunch calls?
Well, I think we start making them now if that's what we need to make. If the player's form is suggesting it's time, then it's time. But if there's other reasons why his form's not where we need it to be, then we can, you know, we go back to the Piriwipu. Ali Williams will support those players because we know that they can play at the highest level. They've got the mental capacity to be able to do the job that's required, and it's not easy. You know, otherwise everyone would be an All Black.
Have you ever found it hard to come up with innovation or stay not be fatigued yourself?
I've found it hard not to be fatigued. Yeah, it's like any job, you work hard, you're going to get tired, but I don't think that's an issue. I think that just comes with the job. You know, you get a bit of time off at some point and you go and enjoy the summer and family. Innovation's about being flexible enough in your thinking. You know, I've always thought that no one person has the key to the innovation door, so chuck it, whatever idea it is, good, bad or indifferent, on the table and let's thrash it around and see what comes out. And you know, that's the policy I've always lived by and continue to do so. So whilst I've been there a long time, you've got people like Ian Foster, who's been there a very short time and is coming in with his ideas. And you know, if you share, I think you always improve something.